Pachinkos. As you can tell by the title of the video, this is what it's going to be all about. Now on this channel we've talked about Pachinkos in the context of Konami's recent actions. And while they will be a part of the video, the point is still Pachinkos. So what are they? In the Konami video I labeled them as gambling machines and such, but what does that even mean? Pachinkos are mechanical games from Japan dating quite a fair while back, even which, while today they may be used as arcade machines, they most always end up being used for gambling reasons. Think of them as a cross between a slot machine and a pinball table. It looks like a pinball machine without any flippers, but instead of one active ball from the start, you get a bunch of little balls, all at the same time. Throughout the machine, many pins exist. The balls encounter these pins while cascading down. The pins allow the balls to go in different random locations, and like a pinball machine, these balls may trigger special events, and that's all dependent on the machine, which we'll get to. These events should trigger more balls, and the ultimate goal is to get as many balls as you can, so that ultimately these balls can be exchanged for prizes, and then these prizes can be traded into a pawn shop, which magically is associated with a pachinko parlor. Not always, but sometimes this turns out to be the case, and these prizes are turned into cold, hard cash. At the end of the day, this is gambling, plain and simple. Now you may wonder why in fact somebody would gamble in such an environment. For one, you have to realize that these prizes are determined by the pawn shop, whatever their worth may be. And the value can be cut down further when the cards are all in the house's hands. But again, on the counterpoint, because so many of these pachinko parlors exist in Japan, no brother out there would want to really ruin such a fine reputation, since the consumers might as well just flock somewhere else. However, the main reason is because in Japan, gambling for money is actually illegal. By Criminal Code Chapter 23, this includes almost all forms, save for lotteries and football pools, also known as totos, but gambling in the sense we attribute it as is for the most part illegal, so you can assume these pachinko machines are a sneaky way to bypass that. Now you might as well ask, if it's so similar to gambling, why hasn't the Japanese government cracked down on it? Well, it's not actually as simple as one would think, because cash is not directly involved, since you can't exchange these pachinko balls for money, but you can exchange them for prizes, and these prizes are converted to cash in a separate facility. This can't really be classified as gambling in the legal sense. It's a clever way to get around it, even though that it is just gambling. The legality behind this nowadays does sit on a fine line. Japanese authorities don't like pachinkos, but they really can't do anything about it. They just let it be. Some parlors play with risk and offer some incentives in the form of valuables that really can be exchanged for cash, or sometimes rather even cash themselves, but then they'd really be bringing the heat on themselves, and no matter where you live, that is the last thing you want. Because of the fact that the pachinko industry is an industry that revenues over 150 billion US dollars, it does require closer scrutiny. You know, is it the recreational activity one would assume, or is it just a clever way for people to create casinos in a country where these casinos are outlawed? But then again, casinos are being pushed further and further into legality, and again, if these pass through, could render these pachinko machines, in their gambling sense, somewhat useless. Remember, they do exist in a recreational sense. There's many recreational pachinko parlors out there, but they are greatly outnumbered by the ones that are purely in it for the gambling. One other reasons why these machines can dodge gambling laws after playing them is that they do provide some form of player control. For example, many pachinko machines allow you to alter the speed at which the balls launch. But then again, you do have to realize that there are so many other forces and variables existing, such as gravity for one, and how the pins are even placed, balls are cascading down, and many other variables that altering the speed should just be titled the placebo effect, since you really don't get any form of control if you think about it. Some machines even allow a video gaming component that includes elements such as QuickTime events, which might offer some kind of jackpot or extra player control, but these are relegated to the recreational machines rather than the gambling focused ones. And even when you get the gambling focused ones, at the end of the day, whatever happens in these video gaming segments are for the most part left to a RNG somewhere out in the machine code. Which, if you don't know what RNG is, it's random number generator. Again, you're kind of left to the luck of Lady Luck. And that's really where the machines sort of give you the illusion of player control, but you really don't have a lot of player control in a slot machine. In the end, They do offer control, of course they do, but that's more of a smokescreen since the elements are still subject to pure luck. Pachinkos are a simple form of gambling through and through, and after playing a few, I've come to realize that they really are a far more interesting variant of slot machines, and that's all they really are. Some offer, again, a form of gameplay, and that's all fine and dandy, but it's just gambling, and gambling really sells. I mean, look anywhere. Even if it's not in the legal market, just look in the illegal side of gambling. It's addicting, it's highly profitable for the house, and this is where things get a little dark for the consumers, and this is where, again, we're going to have to tread on the landmine that is Konami. Konami is a company that has money invested in many places, and with the shift to pachinkos, we can see why they may be a good business decision. For one, the idea of opening a parlor is all but eliminated. Releasing a mobile app causes little overhead. Putting it onto Google Play or the iOS store just requires a little fee, a little paltry fee, if you will, and time. That's it for the app to get verified. Once it's done, the application's up there and you're ready to go. You add microtransactions or in-app purchases to sell digital pachinko balls. Again, that's nearly pure profit. You're not even producing any pachinko balls that there are. Then the actual game is all in Konami's hand and how they code it, and that makes you wonder, how do you trust a house completely owned by Konami? It's not exactly a great feeling. With big IPs such as Silent Hill and Castlevania and even Metal Gear attached, you bet many people are going to download, and some will definitely gamble their cash away playing a mangled version of our favorite franchises. To me, it's kind of a disgusting concept. In fact, it is a disgusting concept, but it sells, and you can see why going down this route is, at least from a business perspective, such a great idea. Why spend millions making a game when you can spend pennies making a mobile app to siphon money out of suckers? But more interesting, I think, is how this already affects gaming as a whole and why I'm making this video specifically. In a way, I'll bring you two examples of the situation. Counter-Strike Global Offensive brings many cases that allow you to offer $2 to $3 to open. You take a chance opening these to unlock rare or common skins that you could in fact sell for store credit. Again, that's just for Counter-Strike Global Offensive that I've seen, and some of these can go for quite the price. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 offers microtransactions called crypto keys to unlock chests for gun skins, and if you think about it, these companies have created value out of literally nothing, making pure profit off of a few EP and enlarging pixels. Look at half the mobile games in the market that allow you to take chances doing menial activities. You know, all the ones with the energy bars that constantly decrease? Those little activities you do in Farm World that take hours upon hours in real time to complete, unless you want to bypass that with a little bit of microtransaction currency, if you know what I mean. Although you still do take a risk even when you do that of either failing or succeeding. Which at the end of the day, when you think about it, is it really far and away from gambling? I mean, at least with pachinkos, you still get some form of monetary value out of it, even if you do rely on house rules. What about this, though? A lot of games are doing this, actually. A lot of $60 games, even. In the end, pachinkos are interesting. I really can't see the appeal after playing a bunch of them, but as this trend continues to grow stronger, what does this mean for a lot of Japanese developers? Well, for one, SNK Playmore, which actually went into the pachinko game, needed to retreat because of increased regulations, but remember, SNK was a company that split, sold itself, and reinvented, rebranded, and reacquired its IPs, while Konami is a juggernaut. So what does that mean? It means Konami has quite the capital, and quite a high success rate if they play their cards right in the pachinko games, and it'll rake in big bucks, and if it does, what about Square Enix of Japan? Or even Capcom with the dire constraints that they're in. An in-app, cheap mobile app that siphons money. Pretty amazing concept if you think about it for Capcom in the position that they're in. It's a chilling thought. What about the increased gambling on games being developed in North America? And again, some people can argue with certain games that it may not be gambling rather than wasting money on skins or cosmetics on a game that, in my opinion, one day if the online flip switches, then those things are completely worthless. Sure, some games offer that money to the community in the form of esports or free DLC such as Halo 5 and even Call of Duty, but it's still a disturbing trend, and one that I hope doesn't stick around. In the end, I ask what you think about this little development in video games, and what you think of pachinkos as a whole. Will you give them a try? Hell, will you even download some of Konami's pachinkos to give them some form of thought? I won't. But let me know in the comments below If you like what you saw, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.